What is going on, everybody? Voidlego here, back with a brand new episode of Higurashi When They Cry. Last time we had just started off Chapter 4, which has taken on a very new setting. We are back in 1979 during the dam protest, and we take on a new perspective from a federal agent, just a federal agent who is looking into a prime minister's grandson, grandson who has been kidnapped, and he's looking into Onikafuchi since it is according to the federal agency, it is to them a terrorist organization. So yes, let's get right on to it. Let's look at the tips. We got what? Phone call with Yuki. And Yuki is his wife, if I remember correctly.
そうですか。
Yep.
急な出張は大変ですね。どうぞお気をつけて。出張はどちらへですか？もう出張先なんですか？
Akasaka. Whenever I headed out on assignment, she would ask where. Not just Yuki, but anybody would have asked the same question. If it was a cold place, she would have urged me to pack a thick jacket. If it was far, she'd warn me to be careful on the drive over. It was just normal everyday concern that led to asking such an obvious thing. I felt sad that I couldn't answer such a one-of-the-mill question.
ごめんなさい。言ってはいけない規則でしたね。どうかお気をつけて。
すまん、ユキ。
あなたはいつの頃からすぐに謝られるようになったんでしょう。今のお仕事に疲れた最初はあれだけはつらつと充実していらっしゃったのに。
Yuki laughed as though she had realized something. At times like this, Yuki had the magical power to see right through me.
私が入院してもう随分になりますものね。あなたもそろそろ寂しくなってきましたか？
からかうなよ。寂しがるような年じゃないさ。
さてさていかがでしょう。あなたは本当に甘えん坊さんですからね。私と一緒でないとだんだん弱気になってきてしまうのでしょ。
もう今、ユキエの頭に小悪魔の角がにょっきりと生えているのが目に浮かぶよ。君は昔から。
はぐらかさないはぐらかさない。私に構ってもらえなくて寂しい寂しいって。あなたが尻尾を振っている音が受話器を通しても聞こえてきますよ。
The side of Yuki wasn't something you could guess existed from seeing her usual modest behavior. It was something that she didn't show to anybody else but me. Normally I'd poke her to hide my embarrassment and bring an end to the conversation, but I couldn't do that over the phone. Of course, Yuki was clever. She was teasing me because of that.
あなたを困らせるのがこんなに楽しいと気づいたのはいつからだったでしょうね。
そろそろ許してくれよ。とにかく君の元気な声が聞けてよかった。
そうでしょう。元気になれましたか？
I had called Yuki to keep her from feeling lonely when she was by herself in the hospital room. Of course, that was nothing more than a pretense that I, being so shy, had come up with. It seemed that Yuki had long since seen through the act.
また電話をしてくださいな。私がダメな時はお父さんが相手をしてくれるでしょう。もっともお父さんが相手ではあなたのことだから電話先でも直立不動で喋っていそう。
For a little while longer, Yuki kept teasing me without letting me end the call. Is she going to be dead at the end of this? I mean, as we've seen from the previous 3 chapters, this doesn't end with happy. I think she's going to die in childbirth, to be brutally honest. That's my theory. Hey, I know it's fucked up to say that, but come on, it's Higurashi here. According to opening remarks, what's this? Chairman XX, members of the party, congratulations are due as we are celebrating 25 years since our founding. These past 25 years have seen much growth in Prefecture. The once quiet scenery of nothing but fields now has seen the opening of a new stop for the bullet train. And with the development of the highway, we've seen the rebirth of a modern city bursting with youthful energy. We've reaped the benefits of the new businesses and industry, and with the special reverence the residents of Prefecture have for time-honored traditions, history and culture, business and industry, with these ideals in harmony, they have accomplished in growing their city into one of Japan's foremost metropolises. Of course, the development of Prefecture couldn't have happened without the growth of the party. We are resolved to see every one of our campaign promises to fruition, reaching our target definitely and exponentially like arrows fired from bow. With these arrows as the fundamental basis of the party, our members have thought to pierce the obstructions preventing the happiness of the residents of Prefecture, but I do believe that everybody here is unlike an ordinary arrow. While being as unflattering and straightforward, we have not neglected in seeking solutions that conform to the current day and age while also keeping an eye on the future. An arrow, once loosened, can only fly to its destination. Everyone here, however, is no simple arrow. Even once loosened from the bow without neglecting our studies, while employing new methods and implementing more effective and flexible ideas, thus being able to change trajectories mid-flight, we are magical arrows. The modern age marches ever forward. Sometimes it marches faster than the time taken from planning to execution. The following part was not in the script. It is thought to have been ad-libbed by the minister. For example, there have recently been numerous problems with the Hinamizwa power plant project. Rather than forcing through the project solely because it was decided upon by the government, it is necessary to reflect on and adjust to the ever-changing needs of the residents, the region, and the next generation. The protests by the local residents that surround the Hinamizwa Dam, these are also the will of the people of Prefecture. If you feel that there is no need to listen because the project has already been finalized, then you do nothing more than shed a poor light on Japan's post-war democracy. Following is as per the script. For the lasting happiness of the citizens of Japan and the residents of Prefecture, please consider these policies thoroughly. I believe, however, we have all gained something from the flexibility and foresight of the party. I've taken up much of your time. However, allow me to say the following to celebrate the 25th anniversary of our founding. Chairman, members of the party in attendance, thank you very much for today. From the opening remarks of the party Prefecture Forum and 25th anniversary celebration. Huh. That was interesting. Just like politics, it says a lot, but in reality, it doesn't say that much. Fancy words, metaphors, that's just politicians and politics in general, just creating a bunch of words to have some type of meaning, even though there's nothing to gain from. What is this? Gears and fire and the taste of honey. What the hell is this? The hell? The world is filled with people blessed with relationships. Of course, that doesn't mean that everyone is connected to each other. It's obvious that on the other side of the planet, there are people laughing and crying who can't possibly have an effect on you. However, in the extremely limited community of the neighborhood, that sort of connection is just a matter of fact. It's quite possible that a single remarkable event could have massive consequences inside a small community. If you were to increase that in scale, a perfect stranger on the other side of the globe might become enough of a legend to have an effect on our lives. Well, it's not always that way. Like I said at the beginning, the links between people basically aren't that relevant in the grand scheme of things. Whether some household nearby is having steak or crochets doesn't matter to me. When I put on my shoes, it doesn't matter to anybody whether I put the right one on first or the left. This much the average person can understand. But actually, in reality, this is the truth. The bonds between people are quite well defined. It's not just a matter of distance of being far or near. For example, let's say that person A's actions have some effect on me. Even then, person B's actions could have absolutely no consequence on my wife. The reverse also holds true. Just because my actions affect person A, that doesn't always mean that they affect person B as well. Let's put it bluntly. If the bonds between people are like gears in a machine, that the gear that represents me meshes with some people, but is isolated from others. There are some who would try arguing against this. Those people would bring up the example of gears in a clock. Each gear indeed only directly meshes with one or two others. However, if you rotate one gear, the one next to it is moved, which connects to the next one, and the next. In the end, all the gears are moving. There is a logic behind this, more than enough to convince the average person. Why is the argument convincing? The answer is simple. The relationships between people are ambiguous, and can only be described conceptually. How the gears are connected and how their movements are chained together can't be used as a fundamental explanation, so it throws a wet blanket on that argument. So for the people who like that explanation, I'll use the example of a clock again to refute it. First of all, to say that this world is a single clock would be wrong. That is, there isn't only one clock. There exists many clocks in this world, each counting their own time. If you think about it, the idea that this world is just one big clock is the height of arrogance. Even if you use the analogy of gears to explain human relationships, then you should be able to explain it using an analogy of multiple clocks unrelated to a single gear. Neighbors A and B. A is a gear in the same clock as me, so it's best to remain civil. B is a gear in a different clock, so he really doesn't really matter to me at all. That's a kind of clear distinction I'm talking about. You want to say I'm being facetious? Then let's change the analogy to something more familiar so you can understand. You've probably heard the phrase, a fire on the opposite shore, sometime in your life, no? For example, if your neighbor's house was on fire, you'd probably try and help to put it out, wouldn't you? It'd be awful if the fire spread and burned down your own house after all. But what if that fire was in a town on the opposite side of a river? Would you still go out of your way to help? You wouldn't, would you? Even though it would be the wrong thing to do, there's no way the fire could spread to your own house. Even if it is turned into a huge conflagration, there's no relation between the houses that will spread fire to yours and those that won't. With this basic example, you should be able to see the difference between gears that are or aren't related to your own. Having said that, there's still a lot to think about, even without a river to divide it. After all, it's not a spatial problem like being on the other side of a river, is it? I get the gears in the fire, but what the hell about the taste of honey? That's relationships, huh? And how it affects people. That's very interesting. How that relates to Higurashi. Well, no, that actually does say a lot about what we've seen so far in the past 3 chapters. You know, Higurashi's always been about this one friend group, like gears. And that, like, each region is like a different clock, each neighborhood, different town is a different clock, and there are many gears inside of those clocks. And that affects it. That's... Huh. These steps are very interesting. The chick in the trunk. Okay, what is this? The car had stopped, but he didn't know any more than that. For not only was he blindfolded, but locked in the trunk of the car. What? How could people become this powerless just by being robbed out of their sight? He absolutely wouldn't have known this without experiencing it firsthand. He soon realized it was pointless to try and undo his bonds with the confines of the trunk, quickly making him lightheaded. This is going to be the Prime Minister's grandson. He had no choice but to let his mild torture dull his senses. That's why when the car stopped and the unpleasant vibration ceased as the engine was killed, he couldn't help but delude himself that he was being set free, even though nothing had been resolved in reality. Of course, he was soon removed from that delusion. He strained his ears when he heard one of the men who had abducted him and an older man he was hearing for the first time strike up a conversation. Chick. It can't be that. We know for a fact the grandson wasn't a woman. Okay, never mind. It's just like a cold word, I guess. The trunk opened, letting in a blast of fresh, cool air. Even though up until just now he had been thinking about getting out of that stuffy trunk, when it was actually opened, he suddenly became uneasy. Enough so that he wished that the lid of the trunk would once again close, as separating himself from them. Suddenly somebody stroked his head. Of course, since he was blindfolded, he couldn't tell if the hand was petting him or simply evaluating how easy it would be to remove his scalp. Unable to tell the difference, he could only freeze as he imagined the worst-case scenario.
すったらん。あいそうにの。震えとんね。おとなしくしばらく過ごすがよかろう。
The older man said that kindly as he gently stroked the boy's head.
ほんに辛い思いしちゃろな。だがな、おんめのおじいちゃんは優しい人だんね。すぐに助けてくれるだろうの。
Having heard nothing but the average standard dialect his whole life, the older man's distinct indignation left a deep impression on the boy. But he had no idea what he was saying. For your gramps to register as meaning your grandfather took a while to process. Eventually, the hand that was stroking his head loosened the blindfold.
目隠しはまずいっすよ。面が割れると後々まずいです。
ああ、そうかの。なんら、せめて猿靴はくらい外したらんな。これぎゃ、息もできんね。
叫ばれたらまずいです。こいつのことは俺たちに任せてください。
たく、気の利かんやっちゃらな。本家にむごい仕打ちはせんやっちゃっとる。
Main family, eh? That could mean a lot of things.
そこんとこ、肝に刻むんよ。
Could refer to one of the three families in Mizawa, or it could refer to the Yakuza family because Yakuza refer to each other as family, really. Well, same thing in like the Italian mafia.
分かってます。手荒な真似はしませんよ。
Actually, now I'm thinking about it, it's very completely off topic here. It's very interesting how like businesses and workplaces and like crime organizations refer to each other as like family, you know, in order to like keep people in their midst. Like, oh, we're a family, you know, be it crime organization or just like workplace business, like, you know, Google or whatever. It's very interesting that both types of organization, both legal and illegal, refer to, you know, the henchmen or colleagues as family. Very interesting. Very interesting.
小僧がおとなしくしててくれる分にはね。
The man's hands plodded roughly and repeatedly at the boy's head. A rugged hand, unlike the affectionate one that had been stroking his head before. Just stay cooperative. If you struggle, there's no guarantee what will happen. That cliched threat was literally beaten into his head. Well, at least we got an update from the kid. And so far, he's alright. For now. Let's continue. 18 minutes of just tips. Oh boy. Waking up in a cheap hotel in the city was by no means pleasant. I remembered even during the long camping trips we had during grade school, I wanted to get home quickly, counting out the days left on my fingers. Waking up this morning, I was somehow reminded of that. Was it a need to be with my wife when she gave birth, or a particular type of homesickness? As a productive member of society, as a public servant bound to fulfill his duties, it was pathetic indeed. Those negative emotions faded as I downed my breakfast, which was surprisingly not half bad. The meeting with the informant that Oshi had provided would be tonight. Until then, I couldn't just be lazing around. The Okafuchi Guardians was protesting the dam's construction in various ways. Included in this was a strategy for improving public relations, which could be categorized into two major forms, combative and peaceful. In regards to the former, as an attempt to keep law enforcement in check, they appealed to the public's sympathy by highlighting the oppressive and inhuman tactics of the police and the brutality of the riot squads. The latter, peaceful, roots stressed how precious the natural surroundings of Hinamizwa was, seeking people who would oppose the dam on environmental grounds. As a part of that, the village of Hinamizwa invited celebrated zoologists and botanists as well as environmental groups to advertise the nature surrounding the town. According to the news, in recent years there had been a group calling itself Hinamizwa Nature Watching, setting up free sightseeing tours. Interesting. I would have liked to take advantage of the opportunity, but when I called the village administrative offices, they said it was too late to apply for the tour and that they were still undecided as to when they'd be doing another one.
そうですか。次回の募集はありませんか。
That's very interesting to note that. Which could be a reason why Tomike visits Hinamizwa. When did he start visiting Hinamizwa? I think it was during the first murder he first came to it? Or it was a little while before that, but I know for a fact Tomike had been to Hinamizwa for a number of years before we saw him. So maybe this was the start of it back in 1979 if they're trying to appeal to environmentalists.
残念です。
あんた環境保護団体さんですか？それとも雑誌さんの人？
いえ、個人です。
個人？観光ですかね？
観光みたいなものです。美しい自然を写真に残すのが趣味なんで。
Wait.
雑誌でとても貴重な自然が残っていると読んだので、楽しみにしていたのですが。
Wait. Is this fucking Tomiki? Wait a fucking minute. I knew that there was an article that something like that wasn't in it, but I hadn't actually read it. Was it this ad boy Bly not going to work? However, contrary to my expectations, the person I was speaking to laughed happily. No, it's Joru's last name is Tomiki. But it could just be a fake name. Okay, I've latched on to a theory right now, ladies and gentlemen.
ならあんた検査来なさい。村はちょいと慌ただしいけど歓迎しますよ。
Also, don't tell me if I'm right either. I'm going to think for right now that I'm right, but I could still very well be wrong. Higurashi has proven me wrong multiple times.
ぜひそうさせていただきます。ありがとうございます。
Now I'm listening to the voice actor as well.
あんた明日は何ですか？
It does sound kind of a bit like Joru.
お車？もしそうだったら先にナンバーを聞いておきますよ。台湾ないんですがね。
That was probably related to the checkpoints they'd set up on the way to the village. If I didn't give them my license plate number, I'd most likely be hindered in various ways. I thought about using the car at Boward from the prefecture, but I was lost on whether it was okay to tell them that plate number. If the Ongafuchi Guardians was behind this incident, there was no guarantee that they would be able to find out who I was. I had to play it safe, so I elected to refrain from using the car.
いえ、実は車ではないんです。
Did you want to say bicycle?
バスか何かがあれば、それで行きたいのですが。
バスならありますよ。もうすぐ廃線になってますそうですがね。そんでいらっしゃい。沖宮の駅から出ますよ。
ありがとうございます。探してみることにします。
本当いつ来ます？南沢さん初めて？初めての土地じゃいろいろとご不安でしょう。教えてくれりゃ誰か行かせていろいろご案内させますよ。
そんな、そこまでしていただくのは申し訳ないです。
気にせんでください。これも村の自然さ守るための PR なんですから。
Judging by what I saw at the checkpoint, the villagers were at the very least wary of outsiders. That's why in order to move in and out of the village freely, I had to travel with somebody like Oshi or side with a dam protest. Having an interest in the nature environment surrounding the village tied into the peaceful type of PR that the village was using. I I was a bit against having a watchdog attached to me, but that might actually work out in my favor. The entire village was fired up about the dam protest, so I might be lucky enough to hear some especially candid opinions from the residents. Given that, there was no real reason for me to refuse their offer.
本当によろしいのでしょうか。でしたら本当に助かります。
Now that I'm listening to the voice actor, it really does sound like Tomoki. It really does. I think I might be right on this one, folks. I'm really confident about this one. After that, I was shown the bus schedule and directed to which bus I should get on. Somebody would come and meet me at the bus stop in the village. After showing me around a spot I'd taken interest in, there was no doubt they'd bring me to somewhere like an anti-dam information center. Then, over a cup of tea, they try and indoctrinate me into accepting their principles and beliefs. Well, if that was their aim, there'd be a lot of freebies involved. The world is about give and take, after all. I couldn't be going in a suit. I pulled some plain clothes out of my travel case and changed to something more casual. After that, after calming down by watching some local television, I left the hotel and set out for Okayama Station. The bus route that I was told would soon be discontinued certainly didn't look that way. There was more than enough trips on the schedule, and the number of passengers was by no means sparse. It was the main link to Okayama, the only town in the area. The types of passengers that stood out were older folk who didn't look like they could drive, and housewives who didn't seem like they had a license. If the area was submerged at the bottom of a lake, it wouldn't matter if there was a bus route. That's why it was going to be discontinued in the unnatural scheme of things. I could catch a glimpse of the government's intent in cutting off their means of transportation to bully the village into emptying out sooner. It makes sense. According to the documents, talks between the Ministry of Construction and the locals broke down quite early. The government decided from the start to take an aggressive stance on the matter. It was like the fairy tale with the north wind and the sun trying to get the traveler to remove his cloak. Even the bullying had meaning to it. The reason why the Onikafuchi Guardians resisted so violently was because the government was doing unseemly things like that. I was somebody who lived in Tokyo, so for a village or two out in the boonies like this to be submerged didn't seem like a big deal. But I guess for somebody actually living there, it would be a virtually huge problem. Oh, this is the tip about the gears and the relationships definitely ties back into this, especially with this conversation right now. This route will be discontinued at the end of this financial year. Thank you for your patronage up to this point. We look forward to your continued patronage on our other lines. Okayama Transportation. Gazing ways away at the notice of discontinued service posted inside the bus, I counted down the number of stops until the designated one. Along the way, we passed through the checkpoint before without stopping. They knew what time the bus was coming, so they had opened up the barricade ahead of time. From here on out was enemy territory. My palms had at some point become coated in a thin film of sweat.
浮田水道前へ。お降りの方はいらっしゃいませんか?
I hurriedly pressed the stop request button as the designated stop was announced. For none of the numerous passengers to be getting off here meant that it must be quite a remote place. In actuality, the stop I got off at was so abnormally run down that I could tell it was barely used. As soon as I stepped out, an intense atmosphere completely different than the interior of the bus assailed my body. Right now, Oshi, or Hadia, weren't beside me. That's right. At present, I was alone in the middle of enemy territory. My advisories probably thought I was just an ordinary tourist, but that was nothing more than a ruse. But if by some mistake my true identity was to be exposed, it brought back the terrifying words I had heard at the prefecture office, that if somebody was attacked in Hinamizwa with a knife, there wouldn't be any evidence left behind. Will this chapter give us a reason why Tomoki gets murdered over and over? Is the reason why Tomoki gets murdered over and over is because the Guardians found out he was working for the feds? Shit. I didn't seem suspicious, did I? My clothing was currently casual. It was exactly the type of clothing that a city swicker that viewed the countryside on as a wholesome getaway would wear. A camera and knapsack. Inside were various things needed for hiking. It was still only June, and maybe it was unusual, but the sun was shining down like it was already the middle of summer. The fact that I didn't bring a hat must seem odd. No, it wasn't something to be that concerned about. It's alright, I was just a normal tourist. Just normal. Was there anything suspicious about me? Asking that as I turned around to look at the bus that was departing. All of the passengers by the window were staring down at me, silently. They were staring right at me, as if they had seen right through my proud little outfit. Just staring, looking down on me. Countless stares rained down like needles on me from the windows open to air out the bus. All that rained down were stares. None of them were saying a word, but all the more, their silent stares told me more than a million words could. Hurry up and go back to Tokyo, you outsider.
私は
There was no reason for me to speak. My quiet voice was drowned out by the sound of the engine. The bus, as if to torment me, set out slowly, and after doing more than enough to intimidate me, sped off. Shit. A thin film of sweat began to rise from my entire body. According to his documents, it was a village that seemed wary of outsiders. Its population was small as well. If they saw an unfamiliar face, it would be quick to identify that face as an outsider. Top of that, nobody else had gone off at this stop. It was a bus stop that they normally just passed on by. Somebody actually getting off there. There's no doubt that it had drawn some attention. But this wasn't a slip-up. They were the ones who directed me to get off at the stop. There was nothing to worry about. I knew that I was just nervous since this was my first undercover assignment. My more seasoned colleagues referred to us as the new generation that didn't know how to lose their cool, but that wasn't true at all. In order to calm breathing down, I exhaled the unpleasant air residing in the pit of my stomach. I couldn't help but pray that my apprehensions would disappear like the white clouds of exhaust expelled from the bus. There was a small shed there to serve as shelter if it rained, and it was there I decided to wait. Inside the shed, one wall was plastered with posters advertising the damned opposition efforts. It was like the heartfelt screams of the villagers were recorded on that wall. Inside that shelter, I felt an inexplicable pressure. It wasn't like I had any real relation to the damn project, but it still made me feel hesitant about being inside there. That was just how filled with the force of denial that space was. And inside that uneasy space was a girl. Wow. Inside that shed, covered in words, written in broad brushstrokes beating the policies regarding the dam and calling for action, there was a girl sitting there with a drowsy gaze as if half asleep. The two images crashed so much that I could only stand there dumbfounded for a moment, trapped in such a surreal environment. Aw, little Rika. Also, someone corrected me on my pronunciation of Rika's last name. It's Furude. I hope I said that right. Furude. If I stepped inside, who knew what kind of old-fish noises I would accidentally make? I couldn't be disturbing the girl's slumber like that. Having thoughts like this, I gave up on entering the shed. It was just a sleeping kid, so why was I so worked up about it? Finally, I realized this girl, to us as a married couple, was the very image of our ideal child. Even after numerous examinations at the hospital, we didn't know for sure what our child's gender was. Whether we could tell if they were a boy or a girl was, in the end, dependent on whether or not we could get an image of their genitalia. There was, of course, no guarantee that it was a girl, but with things the way they were, the possibility was high. Even so, Yuki had been saying that the chances that it was a boy or girl were even, but in my heart I had already decided that our coming child was a girl. Since the day I decided that until now, it was so fun to imagine how our child would grow up that I couldn't help myself. Amongst those numerous imagined forms, the one that I thought to be the most ideal had materialized right in front of me. Of course, a little of it was due to the circumstances. In my ideal image, her hair would be on the short side. The girl in front of me, though, had long hair. It was almost as if somebody had taken my ideal and made some small adjustments. It certainly wasn't something unpleasant. Even so, I felt like I was sullying her just by looking at her like that. She had an immaculate note with the divine air about her. The girl with an angelic smile with a yawn wide enough you could see her molars woke up all of a sudden. I didn't mean to beep, but locking eyes with a girl who had just woken up like this somehow made me feel like I was putting a prank on her. I wasn't doing anything shady, but I became flustered. The girl spoke. No, cried out? Oh my god, it's so fucking cute. Holy shit, her sprite is so fucking tight. Oh my god. Oh, my heart. Oh god, my heart's gonna fucking explode. Meep? Like that character in the show with the puppets? With the orange hair? I thought it was just one of those greetings kids do. So in order to prove that I was a suspicious person, I responded in kind.
Me.
Me?
Me.
The girl stared at me dubiously with a doll-like expression. Cute, but cold and hard to read. Well, I wouldn't be surprised. There was, after all, an unfamiliar man right in front of her when she woke up who responded with beep when she said the same. Suspicious. She definitely thought I was suspicious.
Me?
Me?
How the fuck can this game do this to me? From one moment of fucking dread to to fucking oh my god, this writer has me by the strings with my emotions. God damn. We were both at a loss for words. No, the only one lost was me. The girl in front of me, as if inquiring about my motives, stared at me intently. In this silence, I felt like I was the one who had said something first. Damn it. This girl was way better at interrogating somebody than Oshi.
怪しいものじゃないんだ。私は
That's what anybody who is suspicious would say.
ニパ
2番
Oh my... What the fuck is this scene? Why is it so great? Oh my god. What I could only have described as a cold expression suddenly blossomed into a smile. Well, that's infected me. You might be familiar with the term angelic smile. To me, it was like that. The phrase was created just to describe the smile she gave me. The girl smiling while saying Nipa probably wanted me to return the favor in kind. That's right. This was a kid's form of communication. Having the other person emulate what you just did was a rudimentary form of mutual understanding.
2番
ニパ
It was a beautiful afternoon in the early summer. What was I doing?
2番
Well, whatever. This was interesting in its own way. If making somebody happy with just a smile was the work of angels, And this girl is definitely one of them. I couldn't help but pray that my own child, who was soon to be born, would grow up to be like this girl. That strangely gentle moment was finally brought to the end by the arrival of a car. An older person waved at me from the driver's seat. A dry smile plastered on their face.
どうも、こんにちは。遅れて申し訳ないことです。昨日お電話くださった観光の方ですかね。
あ、はい。
お待たせして申し訳ねえ。いや、野良でちょいと遅れましてね。したらと、お乗りくださいな。天気もまんた崩れそうだから、ちゃけちゃけご案内しますよ。
え、天気ですか？
ああ、ここいらは崩れると早いよ。今日も夕立になるかもな。
Could say that again.
そうなったら、ほんと写真さ撮るところじゃなくなるでしょ。ほら、乗って乗って。
Me.
Turning around, the girl was standing right behind me with an intrigued expression. Her body language somehow reminded me of a stray cat that followed you around after you played with it a little. So charming.
あれ、リカちゃまじゃねえですか。ありがたや、ありがたや。
Yeah, the elders in the village praised her.
みぱ
A girl named Rika with an immaculate smile and an old man praising her while rubbing prayer beads in his hands. It was a rather mysterious sight to behold. So the girl turns her face to me, tilting her head a little in a cutesy manner. After seeing that, the elder introduced me as a tourist who came to sightsee Hinamizwa.
村を観光したい若者なのです。
The girl, Rika-chan, said that with a smile as she clung onto my arm.
まあね。
Youngin'. It's very interesting verse.
この村の自然がとても貴重だと聞いたんで、ぜひカメラに収めたいと思ったんだよ。私はこう見えても、とっても写真撮影が好きでね。
富竹2号なのです。
Huh?
富竹？
Excuse me?
え？
Tomaki Mark II. What?
牧野、僕も一緒に行ってはいけませんですか？
そんな、レカちゃまが来ても、面白いことなんかなんもないですよ。
Tomaki Mark II? What?
レカちゃまは、境内でマリア遊びでもしててくださいな。
A distinctly displeased expression crept across Rika-chan's face. Being able to show one's emotions honestly in their faces was a privilege young children had.
もしお差し支えなければ、この子も連れて行ってあげてください。
When I said those helpful words, no smile was spread across Rika-chan's face with another deep eye as she clung to me again. Not that at all. I want this girl to call me Papa. Alright. No. Father. Dad. Daddy. What am I doing? Ever since I met this girl, I was completely off my game. Just calm down.
仕方なかんと。レカちゃまはダメだ言うても聞かんしな。知ったらんとお乗りください。ささ、レカちゃまも。
The old man descended from the driver's seat and opened up the sliding door of the van, which had Onikafuji Alliance Town Council stenciled on the side. Rika-chan brushed me aside, dove into the seat, and began bouncing around right away. It seemed like she was thoroughly enjoying the bouncy springs.
かんれ、レカちゃま。そんじゃお客人が座れねえですよ。だな、こら、レカちゃま。
Girls are nice. Wonder if my child will play around like this too. No. I was winning that guy to raise a child that you shouldn't dote on them. Kids are kids. If you don't raise them strictly without spoiling them.
ふかふかでバインバインでニパ
ニパー。
I am definitely going to be a terrible father. It was decided that I would be a doting parent before my child was even born.
そんではお客さん、風景の綺麗そうなとこね、適当にご案内しますよ。
God damn it, I'm supposed to be a tough father, damn it! Fuck!
お昼は食べましたかいね？
ええ、ホテルで軽食を。
そんですか。では参りましょうかね。
ひなみざわ観光に出発なのですよ。わーいなのです。
君はリカちゃんでいいのかい？
そうなのですよ。フルでリカと言いますです。もう繰り上がりの足し算とかもできますですよ。
ああ、そうなの。それはすごいな。
Alright, what's 20 plus 30, huh?
お指とかは折ってませんですよ。ちゃんと暗算でできますですよ。
The way she insisted upon that was just too cute. At some point, the nervousness I had about being alone in enemy territory had evaporated like it was never there at all. I had to be at least a little thankful that I met this girl.
じゃあ出発しましょうかいね。Hinamizawa大自然ウォッチング。
The old man stepped on the gas with a great deal of gusto. Alright. Taking all the pictures. Me setting up my... Me taking screenshots for my backgrounds in the thumbnail. Okay, now I can talk now. There's two things that very, like, threw me off about that. It's very interesting. First of all, we could use youngin, which is very interesting language. I guess, like, 8-year-old, 10, I don't know, can, like, use youngin. You know, it's a very, very, you know, booties type of accent, you know, to say youngin, but, you know, interesting. And also, Tomoki Mark II. Tomoki Mark II. So either, one, this is Tomoki. I'm pretty sure I'm fucking right. Two, what the hell is a Mark II? And there was a first version of Tomoki? Once again, as I feel like one question is answered, another question brings right up. The old man, who was apparently named Makina, was he the same Makina that was listed as the author of the Onikafuji Guardians? Showed me around places that were all breathtaking. Even though I wasn't really here for sightseeing, I couldn't help but be impressed. First of all, this was different from the simple scenery of a city. Scenery of a charming village like this, no matter how mundane it seemed to the villagers, had a tranquil appeal to it. At first, I was only releasing the shutter as part of my tourist act, but midway through, I found myself taking pictures out of pure interest. Tourist traps had their own unique allure to them, but there was nothing like that here. I was especially captivated by the unspoiled nature of the place. If there wasn't that whole uproar of the dam, I would want to bring Yuki here with me some other time. I wanted her to breathe in this fresh air as well as show her this rejuvenated, verdant scenery.
こんなのが面白いのですか？赤坂は変な人なのです。
いや、こういう円筒状の郵便ポストなんて今はとても貴重だよ。
Okay, so he actually used his name. So that brings up the question. If this is Tomoki, then why didn't Rika say before in any of the other chapters Asaka? Asaka before, if this really is Joru Tomoki? Or maybe she had other alternative motives? You know, Rika is a very interesting character in her own right. She has this, like, sense of, like, she has power to her. Like, just in the village because she's the shrine maiden. Just like, just something. There's been like scenes where like something. There's more to Rika. There's more. You know, like every other character in this game, obviously. But what that is, I have no idea.
どことなく漂うノスタルジックな雰囲気は渋いと思わないかな。
Here.
ひなみ沢は楽しいですか？
ああ、楽しいよ。退院したらぜひ家内を連れてもう一度来たいよ。その時には生まれている子供も一緒にね。今は出産を控えて入院しているんだ。予定日がもうすぐでね。君みたいな可愛い女の子だといいんだけど。
お客さんはもうすぐおめでたですかいね。そんないけねえよ。奥さん放り出してこんなとこに遊びに来てちゃ。
I was momentarily at a loss for words. It was exactly how Makino said. There was no good reason for a man who was waiting for his wife to give birth to be being around idly in this place. Did I slip up?
まあ、ひなみ沢への旅行は前々からの予定だったんで、妻の家族が付き添ってくれているから大丈夫だし。
そんなに前から予定してたんなら大自然ウォッチング。もしかめ間に合わんとかいね。いや、そんだったらこんな窮屈な思いさせんと綺麗な観光バスで回れたのね。
You know what? I have something in my head right now. Now, this might be looking a little too deep, but actually, no, this is Higurashi. Look as deep as you want. What if this is all a setup? What if they already know that Akasaka cannot pronounce shit right? He's a Fed. I'm just going to use Fed. He's a Fed. And they set this whole thing up. Now, meet us at this spot where we put Rika, a very little tiny girl to make him feel, welcomed and, comfortable. And take him around showing him stuff that makes it seem like Hinamizwa is, a good place. What if this is all just a setup? Maybe. I don't know. It could be a million fucking things. It didn't seem as if Makino was actually digging for anything. But if this conversation continued any longer, it would put some unexpected holes in my cover. I halted the conversation by pretending to take another picture.
んざ、最後の一番景色のいいとこさ案内しましょうかね。
It was slightly before evening. The sun was still burning brightly, but a cool breeze had begun to mix itself into the air. It seemed my exploration of Hinamizwa of Rika-chan was just about done.
一番景色のいいところですか？
そんなリカちゃま、境内からの景色さを置いて他にはありませんやね。
Especially the cliffside where, Akasaka could, take a look over the village and we won't put, hearing that, Rika-chan smiled even more.
では、赤坂を僕のお家へご招待なのです。
リカちゃんのお家って？
神社ですよ。Furude神社。高台にありましてね。
Oh, yeah. No.
景色さ見られるんですよ。
I was going to say it's the same one that killed Sadako's parents, but now a different one.
フルデ
Was it the same one?
神社。
No, wait. Chalked it off to no. Was it in Hinamizwa? It is. There's a lot of details in this game, so I'm sorry for forgetting this one. But was it in Hinamizwa? It most likely was. So I'm going to guess that's the same observation deck that will eventually kill Sadako's parents, which is interesting. The girl who called Furude Shrine. Sorry. The guard who called Furude's shrine her home, Rika. If I remember correctly, her full name was Rika Furude. And Furude was, that's right, one of the three families. Even though the Sonozaki family is said to hold all the actual power, it was still one of the old houses that held some authority. No, more important than that was Furude's shrine. If I remember correctly, Oshi had told me, within the grounds of the Furude shrine, there were the offices of the Onikafuchi Guardians. Since the land around Furude shrine were private property, the police couldn't set foot there I think they meant needlessly. Furude shrine was where even Oshi couldn't simply set foot into. The main base of operations were the Onikafuchi Guardians. I had been given the unexpected opportunity to enter there. I couldn't have asked for more.
楽しみです。ぜひお願いします。
じゃあ酒酒参りましょうかね。天気も少し怪しいですからな。
The sky had suddenly become overcast. It wouldn't be odd if it started raining soon. The cicadas, as if trying to finish their daily allotment of chirps before the evening, cried out even more fervently. Damn cicadas. Fucking cicada 3301. That's how we solved the second puzzle of cicadas. We gotta find an Higurashi. The van stopped in the shrine's parking lot. Also parked there were numerous other vans with loudspeakers mounted on top of them to act as makeshift propaganda vehicles. On the side of each vehicle squalled, "The damn project must be demolished. Defend our homeland to the last. No Oshiro-sama's anger." Or a slogan of a similar kind, they gave the feeling that even without using the loudspeakers, there was enough to overwhelm many onlookers. Vertical banners were erected in various places. The contents of those banners were similar. They were all objections against the dam or crude insults towards the government. There were horizontal banners, placards, and so on and so forth. They proclaimed that without a doubt this was the headquarters of the Onikafuchi Guardians. For Rika-chan, however, this hectic place was also her home.
着きましたのですよ。ただいまなのです。
Rika-chan crawled over my lap and exited the vehicle first. Makino had noticed I was looking at protest banners.
前座はダム反対運動の事務所も兼ねてましてね。こんな風景もあんたらには反安保闘争みてえで懐かしいでしょ。
Student movements against government policies, movements that bordered on terrorist activity, were at one time commonplace, if only in order to garner global attention. Students holding out in lecture halls, brawling with the riot squads that changed in. It was an age where wasting one's youth like that was widely considered a road to glory. It was slightly before my time.
私は別に活動家ではありませんので。
So like the 60s? Damn. So I guess it wasn't just America with the hippie movement.
普通に学び、普通に卒業しました。国の政策にあのような暴力や立てこもりで対抗しようというのには私は同意できません。
はあ。あんた、それはそれで立派な意見さお持ちだね。
政策に意見したかったら同じ意見の政治家に投票するか、自ら政治の世界に飛び込み正当な手続きを持って意見を主張するべきであると思っています。それが民主政治の原点です。
True.
それに暴力で挑戦するなどあってはならないと思います。
For a young'un, you have some fine beliefs. I saw that feeling of respect reflected in Makino's gaze. At that moment, something tugged at my sleeve.
赤坂が何を言っているのか全然わからないのですよ。
Oh, just politics. Rika-chan, feeling like she was the only one who didn't understand the conversation, held a look of displeasure on her face. The expression was so charming, I had to keep myself from grinning like an idiot. It's often said that a father wants to spoil his daughter. I think I understood that feeling very well.
リカちゃんには難しい話だったね。日本は平和の国だから 自分の言いたいことは平和的に訴えなきゃいけない。暴力で訴えてはいけないということさ。
No matter how much I explained, a girl who was just boasting about being able to carry digits over when adding things probably wouldn't understand. It probably wasn't something to talk about in front of Rika-chan anyway.
では赤坂、僕たちの村はどうやったらダムに沈まなくなるのですか？
Shit. Even if I regretted my careless words, it was too late now. Here I was, at the main headquarters of an organization, telling them their way of doing things was illegal. Preaching that violence was not the answer. A complicated feeling had mixed itself in with the respect in Makino's gaze. It was then I finally realized it wasn't that simple. There wasn't a soul who would argue that what I was saying wasn't correct. Using violence to get one's way was something that everybody knew you shouldn't be proud of. However, right now, Hinamizwa was in a predicament that couldn't be overcome with peaceful means alone. The legality of the Hinamizwa Dam project through the efforts of the various propaganda campaigns enacted by the Onkavuchi Guardians was being called into question. If they further strengthened their campaign, they might be able to suspend or change the construction plans, but that was at the most just a possibility. If the government proceeded with the construction as planned, it wouldn't be long before this place was at the bottom of the lake. If it wasn't for the unrestrained residents of Hinamizwa, this place might already have been underwater.
僕たちはここでしか生きていけないのです。都会では生きていけないのです。
The words of this remarkably young girl were all too accurate, carrying with them the screams of the hearts and minds of the residents of Hinamizwa. Of course, there was nothing I could say to respond to that. I could only respond to Makino and Rika-chan's heavy words with silence.
すみません。よそ者が気安く言えるような問題ではなかったですね。謝罪します。
Makino, unsure of how to reply for a while, could only laugh pointlessly.
お客人たちのようなよそに住んでる方々には関係ねえことです。
I really like how this whole dam project is written, just in this game series. You know, it shows both sides to it, makes us understand both sides of it. It just, you know, like actual politics, actual projects, it isn't simple, you know. It really isn't, especially, you know, dam projects that, you know, put towns underwater, because I'm pretty sure those actually exist, and who knows how many towns have been flooded. Of course, they want to fight back against that with such a ritually cultured town such as Hinamizwa, with its own culture, folk tales, power system, really hierarchy. Now, why wouldn't you fight against that? It's your home. You know, what if my home was, you know, one day the government decided, oh, we're going to nuke this town, you know, because some reasons or the other. Of course, I'll fight back against it. Who wouldn't? It's just, it's a hard issue.
ひなみ沢さん気に入ってくださったんなら、お客人のお友達みんなにもひなみ沢さん素晴らしいところだって宣伝してください。そういうのが何十年何百年と広がっていけば、この村さダム底に沈めるなんてふざけた計画もやがてはついえるんですかね。
It's very interesting that the Hinamizwa, the residents, are using both options, really, of trying to fight back against this. One, using guerrilla tactics and quite literally fighting, and peaceful ways of bringing attention to it, you know, explain why they shouldn't flood it, explain the beauty of it. You know, it's smart. It's very smart. He followed that with a smile that said, please don't think much of it. Makino letting me not worry that much really was a stroke of good fortune. Becoming infatuated with the idea of making friends with a little girl had made me completely forget my apprehension and being in enemy territory. Being reminded of this right before I was going to step foot into their headquarters might have been a good thing. If we had this exchange in the middle of their office, if there was a short-tempered youth in there, they might have come at me. Thinking of how extreme they were, in the worst case, my wife could have been in danger. It seemed that I looked quite despondent at that moment. Makino, thinking he had said something wrong, became flustered, trying to think of a way to improve my mood.
本当に軽率なことを言いました。本当にすみませんでした。
いえ、そんなにお気にされないでください。
今日案内してもらった村のあちこちはどこもとても美しく素晴らしい場所ばかりでした。もう一度来たいと心底思わされました。そんな美しい村がダムの湖底に沈むことになれば必死の戦いになるのもわかります。
I had somehow managed to use my despondent look to change the topic in my favor. After a bit, Makino had returned to his usual high spirits. It seemed like he believed I completely sympathized with his point of view.
そうそう。そんな話はこれくらいにしましょう。本当にとても景色さえいいところがあるんです。
行きましょうですよ、赤坂。
Rika-chan seemed really happy to be free from all their boring and gloomy adult talk, running up the stone steps. There was no real need to one, but in order to catch up with her, I also darted up the steps. There were several tents belonging to the town council erected on the shrine grounds. Inside the tents were several folding tables and chairs, with a number of the older town council members were livening things up with a chit-chat. They weren't saying anything incendiary like the dam project must be destroyed. It was just some relaxed idle chit-chat between local geezers. The normal sort of common society. At the entrance of a shed that looked like a meeting place, there was a huge sign erected with Onikafuchi Guardians headquarters written in bold brush strokes. That was their base of operations. To be honest, it was a bit of a letdown. If you ask what I had been imagining, this is a bit embarrassing, but I'd have thought it would be something much more dramatic, with barbed wire fences and barricades. My first impression of the place, though, was completely different from that. It looked like a simple backwater town hall. Didn't look like anything other than exactly that. The old folks who were chatting had noticed Rika-chan's presence.
Rika-ちゃまじゃないの。もう子供はお家に帰る時間だよ。
ここは僕のお家なのですよ。
The old folks that is a word, guffawed since she wasn't wrong. From that exchange, I could tell that this Rika Furude girl was loved by everybody. Whoa.
牧野さん、その人？
Holy shit, we actually get a portrait for Kichiro?
電話をくれた観光の人は。そんですよ。
That's the mayor, right? If I remember correctly.
こちら村長さん
Bingo.
に。Hinamizwa の
That was it.
秀吉村長さん。
He smiled brightly, but there was no mistaking he would be scary if he got angry. By the looks of things, this old man was the president of the Ongafuchi Guardians, none other than Kichiro Kimoroshi himself.
ようこそHinamizwaへ。いかがでしたか？静かでゆっくりしたところでしょう。
What a green. Interesting.
ええ。今日一日美しい場所をいくつも堪能させていただきました。
Not bright green either. What? Wider green. Probably means nothing, but interesting.
貴重な機会をお与えくださったことを感謝します。
ふえ。今時の若い方なのに、また真摯な方だね。
喜一郎、赤坂に見晴らしのいいところを案内したいのですよ。
Thinking that the formalities between myself and the mayor had gone on for too long, Rika-chan butted into the conversation. For her to call the mayor by his first name, I thought it was a little strange, but none of the villagers seemed to mind. girl of the Furude household, one of the three families. She was probably different than the average villager.
赤坂、こっちなのですよ。
Rika tugged on my sleeve. Not resisting, I allowed myself to be pulled over, and waiting for me was a magnificent view.
これはすごい。
It was an observation deck that looked down on the village. They, knowing that this was the best view in the entire village, kept quiet as I stood there awestruck. I was holding a camera, but I'd completely forgotten to even glance through the viewfinder. This view, no matter what kind of film it was pointed on, it wouldn't be able to show everything. If there's a way to explain it, it would only be what I would be able to put into words. It was just such a breathtakingly spectacular view that I struggled to find a comparison. For a while I was left awestruck, could only stand there and wonder. The cool breeze helped to fight the heat rushing throughout my body. That comfortable sensation also left me speechless. Rika-chan, who had been holding onto my sleeve this whole time, spoke.
僕の一番のお気に入りの場所なのですよ。
As she said that, she showed me another adorable smile. That smile seemed very fleeting. If you ask why, that was because the view from her favorite spot would eventually be submerged under the deep green waters of the dam reservoir.
こんな村が湖底に沈むことになってるなんて信じられないよ。
I said it quietly so that only Rika-chan could hear it. I regretted it as soon as I did, for those words were all too cruel. However, Rika-chan didn't let them cast a cloud on her expression. In fact, she replied with a smile.
沈みませんよ。ダム計画なんて必ずなくなっちゃいますのです。
It was just like a little girl to say something like that. There was no basis for her saying so. It was just her wish.
赤坂はこの村が沈んでしまうと思っていますか？
沈んでほしくなんかないよ。
I knew how important the dam was. I knew that was necessary. I just didn't want to recognize the sacrifices that would be made. I agreed with the project in general, but couldn't agree with some of the details. But if it meant that this girl's beloved scenery wouldn't be taken away from her, I might be able to object to the dam. I might be able to ignore the interests of the nation, the development of Japan, all for the sake of one girl's smile. Not really much of a humanist, but how sentimental of me.
沈みませんよ。ダムの計画はもうすぐなくなりますですから。
Her words weren't just hopes and dreams, but were seasoned with a hint of resolve, as if she was talking about an unchangeably predetermined outcome. As surely as the sun rising in the east.
もうすぐなくなる？
Wanting to ask her why she believed that, I turned around.
はい。なくなりますのですよ。
どうしてそう言い切れるんだい？
それはなのです。
She seemed to want to answer, but as though unable to find the right words, she swallowed back what she was about to say.
赤坂が何をしてもしなくても、ダム計画は今年で終わりになってしまうのです。もう決まっていることなのですよ。
That was why. If something like that had already been decided, then the Onkafuchi Guardians would have no reason to continue existing. From my point of view, it was like they were doing nothing more than throwing themselves into an endless battle. If they knew the dam project was cancelled, it would feel much more relaxed around here. This village, though, could hardly be called relaxed. For evidence of that, I just had to remember how charged the atmosphere was at the checkpoint or the bus stop. The villagers, with their misplaced resolve, were still fighting. And this girl, even though the villagers' grim resolve had already declared their victory. The villagers throwing themselves into this endless war, and this optimistic girl who said they had already won. That contrast was somehow strange.
どうしてそう思うんだい？何か確信があるなら私に教えてくれないかい？
Rika-chan stayed silent for a while, seemingly choosing what to say.
だって、
だって
She looked like she was lost on whether she should continue or not, as if she was troubled on whether it was okay for her to say it, that kind of expression. Oh boy, here we go.
決まっていることなのです。他に言いようがないのですよ。
決まっているって
Cited by who? This conversation is so interesting because we've seen the future. We've seen the future. We know for a fact that Dam Trap Jack stops. And the way it stops is a murder. It really is just like a little girl to say something like that. I couldn't believe it was actually true. She was the only one saying such things with such confidence. My real mission, that I had forgotten about during this fun-filled day, resurfaced at the back of my mind. The kidnapping of the minister's grandson. Had the Onikafuji guardians kidnapped the minister's grandson in order to succeed in negotiating the cancellation of the dam project? Did Kimiwoshi actually already know that and was just plain dumb? Was that what this girl was really telling me?
Akasaka.
The girl called out my name suddenly.
なんだい？
東京へ帰れ。
Oh, shit. Huh? I wasn't only surprised at that sudden command. Ever since I came to this village, I never once mentioned I was from Tokyo. Well, based on my accent, she might have been able to guess where I was from. What was I so worked up over? It was probably the sudden complete change in their demeanor.
あなたはさっさと東京に帰った方がいい。
Oh, shit!
でないとひどく後悔することになる。
The girl had been holding my sleeve the entire time. She'd been tugging on my sleeve since hurriedly dragging me over to show me this wonderful view. But this was the adorable Rika-chan who I'd spent my entire day with. There's no way she could have been replaced with a doppelganger when I wasn't working. She'd been holding on to my sleeve this entire time, but somehow this girl was someone other than Rika-chan. She looked like Rika-chan, but she wasn't. She was some girl I'd never met before. Again with the fucking doppelgangers! That girl had told me in an indifferent voice that I would eventually regret coming to this village from the bottom of my heart.
それがあまりにもみすぼらしくて気の毒。今のうちから警告してあげているのです。
どうして私が後悔することになると？
いちいちうるさいな。
I couldn't believe that I was hearing such cold words from Rika-chan's mouth. I couldn't just believe it. Was somebody impersonating her using victorism or something? Thinking that, I wanted to take a look around, but the girl's gaze had me pinned down, making me unable to move.
あなたの親はあなたが赤信号の横断歩道の真ん中にいるときどうして危ないのかを全部説明し終えるまであなたの手を引っ張らないの？引っ張るでしょ。まず歩道まで連れ戻してからなぜ危険なのかを解くでしょう。つまりはそういうこと。
Shit. The girl I had spent time... This is insane. The girl I had spent time with, Rika Furude, would not speak like that. She would speak with a cuteness befitting her age, with belief, childish remarks, expressing her emotions honestly. She definitely wouldn't speak with such pointed words.
警告はした。勘違いしないでほしいのは、私があなたを嫌いだからこういうことを言ってるわけじゃないってこと。死んでもいい人に危険なんかを教える必要はないのだし。
君は誰だ？リカちゃんじゃない。
What the fuck? As soon as I accused her of not being Rika-chan, she let out a strange, quiet giggle. It was a laugh not befitting a child of her age. It was like she was possessed by something. Her change was just that total and complete. Was Rika-chan being attacked by some terrifying phenomenon? That occult idea came to mind without any sort of hesitation. Rika-chan is acting strange. Somebody help! Thinking that I yelled that, I turned to where the mayor was. Then we realized he was looking at us with a smile. That's right. To him, it looked like nothing more than me and Rika-chan fooling around. He didn't notice that there was something terrifying happening to her.
Akasaka no kowagari.
The girl had obviously grasped that I was afraid. Noticing that and calling me a coward, she laughed again. The cackling girl approached me in a strange manner while still laughing, lost her balance and fell flat on her face. Rika-chan fell down. If it was just a while before, I would have extended a hand to help her up without hesitation. But now extending a hand to this ominous girl who looked like Rika-chan but wasn't, required a bit more courage than I had at the moment.
Me.
What the fuck? The girl cried out thus. She then squirmed upright and dusted herself up. Afterwards, she looked around restlessly as a blank expression crept across her face. You've got to be kidding me. Was she making fun of me? That way of acting. It was as though, after being possessed by something, she had lost her memories of what happened.
冗談だろ。リカちゃん。
Me.
I don't know if Rika-chan had heard me or not. She just cried out like that as if questioning herself.
お客人、リカちゃまもお茶が入りましたよ。塩大福もあるからにぜひ食ってきんさいな。
What the fuck is this game? I feel like that's been the biggest mystery in this entire game. The two biggest mysteries. One, who's committing all these murders? Two, what? Why do these girls change like a dime? You know? Why do they, like, change like a dime? Well, the only one that didn't change really was Sadako. You know? Because from her she was like catchy from the first chapter, as I explained back then. Except for her, Mion, a lot of names. Mion, Rena, and Rika, they all are able to change like a dime. Maybe with Rika, no, not Rika, Rena, jeez. With Rena, it's because of her DID. Maybe Mion because of her change to a demon, quote unquote. We still don't know why they're able to, especially Rika with such a fucking adult sounding voice. Like, holy shit. What the fuck is happening in this goddamn town, man? Fuck, I want to know. An old lady wearing a smock was waving energetically from the entrance of the office. Hearing that they were snacks, Rika-chan's expression changed.
わーいなのです。
A carefree smile. That was a familiar smile, the one that belonged to my embodiment of my ideal daughter. Any hint of the creepy girl that was just there, sprouting sinister words, had vanished.
ほら、リカちゃま。手を洗ってきんさいね。バッチおててにゃ食わせるまんじゅうはありんせんね。ちゃんと洗いますですよ。みー。
Also, I want to say something. It's such it really fucks you up because like in most like anime, girls have like high pitched voices, and when they like change like that like a dime, it's a fucking huge difference. A friend of mine who was trying to get into anime could not stand that, but like, understandable. But maybe that's a reason why you're able to use that trope of the high-pitched voice for girls, and you're able to fuck up the viewer's like perception like that is really fantastic. Rika-chan responded with vigor, running off to the washing station that was alongside the office. She stopped halfway, turned around to call to me.
早く来ないから。僕は赤坂の分までおまんじゅうが食べられてホクホクなのです。お手手を洗わない人はおまんじゅうが食べられないのですよ。
No matter how you looked at it, that was Rika-chan. Those words and the way she said them, no matter how you heard them, they were definitely Rika-chan's.
ほんでお客人、大人なんだからお手本を示してやってくださいな。
The old lady urged me to wash my hands. Without any resistance, I wind up beside Rika-chan at the wash station. Splish splash. I stared at Rika-chan, intent on washing her hands properly like she had probably learned at school.
みー、間違っていますか？
間違いって。
僕のお手手の洗い方です。金シールを4個しかもらったことないです。僕はお手手を洗うのがきっと下手なのですよ。
間違ってなんかないよ。それだけしっかり洗えてれば十分だよ。
それだけではダメなのですよ、赤坂。ちゃんとたわしを使って爪の間の赤も落とさないと金シールはもらえないのです。
うん。リカちゃんは真面目で偉いな。
ニパー、赤坂に褒められましたのです。
What the fuck was that? No matter how you looked at it, it was Rika-chan. There was no trace of that girl from before. Exactly what was that sinister girl?
リカちゃん、さっきのあれはどういう意味だい？さっきリカちゃんは私に東京へ帰れってそう言っただろ。
言いましたのですか？
I was at a loss for words. She didn't remember what that girl just now had said. Like I would ever believe something as a cult like that could happen. Like I would ever believe that Rika-chan could be possessed by that strange girl and say those creepy things.
リカちゃんが確かにそう言ったよ。
みー。
Her expression told me that, despite my saying so, she had no idea. She wasn't playing dumb, she actually didn't know. Exactly what was that just now? Just as Rika-chan had, I let a look of confusion creep across my face. The two of us, both looking like we had no idea what was going on, must have certainly been a humorous sight to behold. While partaking of tea and snacks, I was shown a propaganda film shot by the Guardians that highlighted their resistance efforts. Older folks talked passionately on how long and grueling the fight against the dam was, but they fell on deaf ears. I was transfixed by Rika-chan, who had heard these stories countless times before and was nodding off. Eventually, Rika-chan noticed that I was staring at her and smiled as she rubbed her eyes. That smile was Rika-chan's after all. There was no hint of that sinister shadow. After that, my unreasonable fear of Rika-chan lessened with the passage of time, but I could by no means forget what had happened. It eventually grew dark. The mayor said that they had prepared dinner, but I said I would come again tomorrow, took my leave. I had to return to the hotel and file my regular report with the section chief.
そうですか。では、また明日もぜひいらっしゃい。お電話さくれれば、すぐに迎えを出しますんでね。
ご好意感謝します。ぜひ明日も遊びに来ようと思います。
ねえ、さしてあげてくださいな。あんた、リカちゃまに大層気に入られたみたいだしね。
赤坂は明日も来ますですか？明日は5次元で終わりですから、3時くらいに来てくれると嬉しいのですよ。
Please come again. The pure smile urged me to do so. There wasn't a trace of that evil aura. Depending on what happened next, all that might end up as nothing other than my hallucination. Think about it logically. If the daughter of the Furude household, one of the three families, had taken a liking to me, then this was a strong foothold for my investigation from here on out. It was like a free ticket for a visit to visit Hinamizwa. If only I could treat that little incident as a figment of my imagination, then having this girl who was the embodiment of my ideal daughter grow so attached to me wasn't bad either. I had successfully dove into the belly of the Onkofuchi Guardians and had the mayor as well as the other important members of the alliance welcome me with open arms. This was a great turn of events. However, I still felt uneasy. Getting back to the hotel, I forced down an almost painfully cold beer until I could clear my mind. The shock from that incomprehensibly strange incident continued to torment me. Want to talk to an informant? Is this the end of the chapter? Feels like it. Indeed it is. Well, what the hell can I say about that? That conversation with Rika was so interesting. Because, as the viewers, we know the dam project is going to be stopped. But why would Rika know that for so certain? Say that it's always been decided that it will end this year. It could mean a couple things. One, the murder was planned well into advance, and that it wasn't just the heat of passionate crime, really. You know, which is very interesting. How would they set that up? Or option B is that the Onikofuchi warriors never did have involvement in it. At all. They truly didn't. But yet Rika knows that the dam project will be stopped, most likely because of that murder. How does she know this? Well, maybe she was possessed by Oshiro-sama, and it was a prophecy to tell Akasaka, you know, leave now or else you're going to be the next one dead. Well, a couple years you will be the next one dead if I suspect Tomoki. Also, another thing about Tomoki, why the hell did Rika say Tomoki Mark II Why the fuck did she say that? Why did she say that? That is, I think out of all of these things, that has been the most mysterious single line of dialogue in this entire chapter. What the hell does she mean by that? Tomaki Mark II? But this is 1979, way before fucking Tomaki ever started visiting. And there was someone before him? I don't know. Once again, Higurashi giving me all these million questions, which is why I love it so fucking much. Anyway, you guys enjoyed this type of content, hit that subscribe button. If you liked it, hit the like button. Want to tell me something, put it down in the comments below. Want to check out the Discord server hanging out in, or my Twitch, check the description below. And yeah, this has been Voidlego. I'll see you guys next time. See ya!